crazy day in the NFL, and we're going to talk about it. What is up, football fans? Yes, today was a very, very, very crazy day in the NFL. So I am going to talk about that. I asked you guys in the community tab when I talked about the fact that Derek Carr signed with the Saints, which we'll talk about. There's 2 new signings. There's a lot of talks about people being this, that. I told you there's a lot we're going to talk about. You guys want me to cover big moves in the NFL? Do you want me to do this and that? And you guys said yes emphatically. A lot of you guys were saying yes. So we're going to talk about NFL when free agency hits. We're going to talk about some of the big moves. So first and foremost, let's talk about Derek Carr signing with the New Orleans Saints. I'm not surprised by that. If you go back and watch my predicting the 32 starting quarterbacks, I think I had the Saints getting Derek Carr, and I think I had the Jets having Jimmy Garoppolo as their starter. The fact that there was a potential trade, the fact that Derek Carr met with the Saints, they kind of already probably came to an understanding of how much they were going to pay him, how important he was to New Orleans. Yada, yada, yada. There was an agreement. There was an agreement on trade terms, but then Derek Carr was like, no, I want to be a free agent, essentially. So, the Saints didn't have to give up too much for him, and then obviously they can use that to build around him. I know there was the rumors that the Jets, he's leaning towards the Jets. It was good to interview with the Jets. Jets didn't happen. So there's that. Then Geno Smith, I think he's getting $37.5 million a year. Geno Smith is getting around $35 million a year, but he signed a 3-year contract with the Seattle Seahawks, about $105 million. Good for him. Geno played really good last year. A lot of people were like, "Oh, the Seahawks are going to suck. They're going to tank. They're going to get a quarterback next year." Yada yada. And they got Locke. They got Geno Smith. They got rid of Russell Wilson. And Geno Smith came out and says, "Shut your mouth." So good for him for getting that contract extension. Now I'm going to talk about some of the rumors and some of the stuff that's going on. One says the Patriots are expected to release highly paid tight end Hunter Henry. Another tight end potentially out there on the free agent market. Another one, Dalton Schultz, with the Cowboys franchise tagging Tony Pollard. Add Gesicki in there. You got a good bunch of tight ends. Maybe the Dolphins go after Hunter Henry. Maybe Dalton Schultz, something like that. There's now going back to quarterback talk. I'm all over the place today. It seems like the Jets are putting all their eggs in one basket with Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers decides he wants to go to Green Bay, or he's like, screw it, I'm just going to retire, that's where I thought, their fallback to me is Jimmy Garoppolo. So we'll see how that all pans out. Also, the Rams have given wide receiver Allen Robinson permission to seek a trade. They just picked him up last year, and now they're allowing him to seek a trade. You're going to see a lot of this. You're going to see a lot of these moves, and I kind of was going to make a video on its own, but I'm going to talk about it now, where a lot of these teams need to go into the cap space before the 15th, next Wednesday. So you're going to see a lot of these moves. So the Rams allowing Allen Robinson to seek a trade, maybe to the Cowboys. I wouldn't be surprised there. Then the Titans are expected to release pass rusher Bud Dupree, which is very interesting to see that. Another huge one. The Titans are shopping superstar running back Derrick Henry per Mike Silver. Tennessee can cut bait with multiple veterans, and Henry could be next on the list. Trading him while he still has a lot of value could make sense. I've heard Buffalo connected with him. I wouldn't be upset if Miami tried to go out and get him. Very, very interested in seeing that. Yeah, the Chiefs are not franchise tagging Orlando Brown, so he will be able to negotiate and potentially go out there. Miami. Hello. Cardinals expected to move on from wide receiver Chosen Anderson and center Rodney Hudson. Again, moving on from Anderson will save them about $12 million cap space. A lot of players are going to be hitting that open market. Jaguars are franchise tagging Evan Ingram. Very interesting to see that as well. Kansas City Chiefs are expected to release pass rusher Frank Clark after being unable to work out a deal. The star playoff pass rusher appears to play for another team in 2023. So the Chiefs are moving on from a ton of players. So are a lot of teams. The Broncos are quietly shopping wide receiver Cortland Sutton, another name out there on the market. One I found very interesting, and it's this one. Mark Sessler says there's a little whisper that the Browns could trade superstar and running back Nick Chubb to fix their cap situation. Browns are likely to let Kareem Hunt sign elsewhere in free agency, so wouldn't have any legit option in running back in this situation. So a trade might be possible. They're in a very steep cap situation because of the Deshaun Watson situation. But it's funny because the Browns look to be trying to add another wide receiver, so they are talking to Deshaun Watson about potentially renegotiating his contract, which I think is so very, very funny when it comes to that. But that's some of the news. And Kendricks, the linebacker for the Vikings, also was released. Crazy day. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Because a lot of good starting quality football players are going to be hitting the market. A lot of them. Is Nick Chubb really going to get traded? I doubt it. But Kareem Hunt's out there. Then you got Frank Clark, Bud Dupree, Derrick Henry, possible trade option. Orlando Brown is now going to be testing free agency. A lot of guys are going to be out there. Now, Orlando Brown's probably going to get a lot of money. He's probably going to get a ton of cash. Let me see what PFF is saying for Orlando Brown's potential when it comes to how much he could get. They're thinking 5 years, $21 million a year, $70 million guaranteed, $105 total. It's a lot of cheddar. A lot of cheddar for him. Mike McGlinchey is looking at 4 years, 15.5 a year, 37.25 guaranteed, $62 million total. Mike McGlinchey is a guy I was looking at for right tackle because Orlando Brown's a left tackle. There's no way you're going to sign him and throw him at right tackle. But you could. Again, if the Dolphins really threw that much money at him, you could. And then switch him over to left tackle when Teron Armstead's like, I'm good. I'm done. Because he's only 26. He's younger than Mike McGlinchey. But it's a lot of money for Orlando Brown. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy news. A lot more news is going to happen. I can expect, you're not hearing much from Miami. Whether it's Jerome Baker, whether it's Byron Jones, whether it's trade options of trading out like Cedric Wilson Jr., you're not hearing much, right? Then you also have Daniel Jones. I forgot to mention Daniel Jones is meeting with the Giants front office after seeing, Derek Carr getting 37.5 and Geno Smith getting 35 a year. Daniel Jones is now meeting with the Giants, and it's like, Daniel, if you think you're going to get 45 a year when Geno Smith and Derek Carr didn't break 40, you're out of your mind. And then one last thing I'll talk about, Lamar Jackson. There's rumblings that they're very far apart when it comes to his contract negotiation and stuff, and that a franchise tag is imminent. Now, it all depends on what type of franchise tag. If it's an exclusive franchise tag, then they own his rights, right? He is their quarterback. They could trade him if they want, like the Dolphins did with Jarvis Landry 5 years ago. Then there's a non-exclusive franchise tag where essentially, they will pay. It's less money than the franchise tag. But he's allowed to go and talk with other teams. And if the other teams are like, look, we'll pay you all of this money to come play for us. And he's like, I like how much they're offering me. And they were nowhere near what Baltimore's offering me. I want to go there. Baltimore will be like, all right, that team has to give us 2 first-round picks. So there's the 2 different exclusive and non-exclusive. Which one will he get franchise tagged? But there's going to be a lot more rumbling. Derrick Henry, I'd love for him to come to Miami, but will the Dolphins pull the trigger on a very big named running back who I think his contract is pretty big. Let me look that up. No, he doesn't have much left. He has just about this year left. It's $16.3 million cap hit this year. Holy guacamole. They'll save 11. They'll save 6 if they trade him now. They'll save 11 if they trade him after June 1st. Million. But you're going to be paying Derrick Henry $16 million. That's where you restructure his contract. That's where you change it up and, you don't pay him that $16 million. But, Josh Jacobs gets franchise tagged. Tony Pollard gets franchise tagged. I think we all saw that coming. I wouldn't be surprised if Saquon Barkley gets franchise tagged. Daniel Jones, they'll have to come to some type of negotiation. So it looks like a lot of these high-priced, big-name running backs will be off the market. Crazy day. A lot of releases, a lot of potential trades, a lot of news, a lot of signings. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Jets. One of the first dominoes fell, and then you saw Geno Smith right after. Very interesting, especially with the fifth-year options on a bunch of the 2020 quarterbacks. Will they get their contract extensions, or will they just get the fifth-year option? Very, very interesting. But comment below. Let me know what you think about me covering all of the NFL, especially with the free agency going. Comment below what your thoughts on the potential moves, releases, all that stuff. Let me know your team and if you're interested in some of these players. And other than that, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got a cool video planned for tomorrow, reacting to a State of the Miami Dolphins video. It's going to be really fun. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. As usual, stay classy. FN's up.